Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Alright, let me set the scene for y'all going into this video, alright? So, I have to move suddenly for some reason, let's say, and I can't take anything with me because I have to move really suddenly. Material-wise, I can't bring anything with me, you know, except for like essentials like money and my phone, stuff like that. But that includes all my makeup. I can't bring any of it with me. I have to leave it all behind. So when I get to my new place, what are going to be the first things that I rebuy, and why would I rebuy those? Why would those be the first things that I would pick up, right? That's our challenge and our mission today going into this video. I'm excited to show you the products that, in my opinion, made the cut. And this is kind of like a lifetime favorites almost, because these are the things that are absolutely essential to me. But I think it's kind of a little bit more of a creative concept than just these are my all-time favorites. It's more essentials, not just favorites. It's like I feel like these things are absolutely like I need to have them. Maybe I've rebought them before, maybe, and these are just like when you have to actually narrow it down to like these are the things that if I could get like one thing from each category, which is what I'm gonna kind of do, is like one thing from, you know, like one foundation, one concealer, like stuff like that. When you have to narrow it down like that, what would make the cut for you and what wouldn't? That's kind of the concept. So now I know with the makeup market kind of being what it is, and with the beauty market, makeup market, all of that stuff, even the self-care market, since it's all so oversaturated and there's so many brands and people trying to sell you stuff all the time, it can be really hard to figure out what's worth it, what's worth spending your money on, especially because there's always these conflicting statements from everybody. So you hear one thing from one person and then another person saying another thing, and then it also depends on like, you know, who you follow, because you can hear, I can watch a YouTube video, let's say, about one product, like one concealer, and hear three different statements. One saying it's amazing, one saying it's bleh, and one saying it's awful. So it is kind of difficult in that kind of environment and market to figure out what is worth it and what's not. And I feel like there's very few universally loved products. There's a few that I have like never heard a bad thing about, but there's way more things that are more polarizing than that. Now, with all that being said, keep in mind that these are the products that work best for me, work best for my skin type. We all have different skin, we all have different faces, we all have different ways of doing things that maybe work better, work worse. They're all going to work in a completely different way for each of us. So keeping that in mind, I typically try to especially promote more affordable products. One, I typically try to use more affordable products just because if I really like something, I'm gonna want to rebuy it. And if it's super expensive, I'm not gonna want to rebuy it. Why would I want to spend, you know, $50 over and over again on a foundation if I can find one for $15, you know? Especially those like tried and true products that you use every day. You can go through them kind of quickly. I guess quick is subjective, but kind of quickly in terms of makeup. And you don't want to go through something that costs you an arm and a leg super quickly. So I think that these products are worth a shot if you like hearing me talk about them and if you like what I kind of express as the benefits or what I feel I get from them. So I think it's worth a shot, and that's why I tried to choose pretty affordable things, because I think that they're worth trying. I always think that certain things are worth trying. However, it's a much harder sell when somebody's telling you that this Chanel foundation is their favorite and it's $68. That's a much harder sell than a $10 foundation from like L'Oreal, you know? With all that being said, let's jump into it. Like I said, I decided to go in order of categories, and I decided to go in order of application that I put it on my face. So, because I thought that would be easiest. So we're going from, I usually do my base first and then my eyes. So that's kind of how we're gonna be going through things. And I just chose one thing from each category. So let's go. Oh, I also will have everything linked in the description box below in case you do want to check it out. And I will try to, yeah, make sure that everything's down there for you. All right, so starting out with the base, I have actually talked about this product before, but this is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter Glow Booster, and this is in the color 0.5 Fair, so I think this is their second lightest, if not their lightest shade. The bottle is more deceiving than it actually, like, it's not this color. I have seen people use this as like a foundation and stuff. I never use it that way. This is what I use as my primer. So it has a doe foot applicator, and I make like a few stripes all over my face and then I just blend it in. This provides a really, really good glow booster. I mean, literally what it says. So I like to just put this underneath my foundation, and I think it provides a little bit of glow from within, and it makes it so that my face doesn't look so like matte, and just since I have dry skin, it can sometimes look a little like cakier if I don't have more of a glow underneath. So this provides a really good like base glow to use, and this would be the first thing I would repurchase because I actually already have repurchased this once when I ran out the first time. And I think it's just a really good go-to product because you can also, like, let's say I'm going to the beach or something, I could use this and that's it, like all over my face instead of like foundation and stuff. And I think that would be really, it would provide me with a really natural looking glow. So that would be the first thing. Moving on to foundation, my foundation repurchase that I would do first is the L'Oreal Infallible up to 32 Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. So it's this one. And this is in the color 395 Rose Pearl. And this is one of my favorite foundations, like, ever. I always repurchase this one. There's it kind of blended out on my hand a little bit. You can see my hand and my face are like a slightly different color. Love that. So, but it has a really, really nice finish. It's not matte, but it's not glowy. It's just a very like, it's almost like a demi matte. It's a very natural looking finish in my opinion. And it works perfectly with the other products that I use with it. And I've found that it just really, it does last all day. I haven't tried to wear it 32 hours, Jesus Christ, but I'm sure you could, honestly. It usually lasts me all day. It makes me look good. My makeup usually looks the same in the morning as it does at night when I wear this, which is a big thing for me. And I love it. So that would be my foundation repurchase. And I believe this is like, so the e.l.f. one is probably like 13-ish. And I believe this is like 15. So I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of on the higher end for drugstore products, but way cheaper than the high-end alternatives that you could get. So love that foundation. All right, for concealer, this is another one that I know for a fact that I've talked about because I love it. It is my tried and true. I love it more than anything. This is the CoverGirl True Blend Undercover Concealer, my ride or die. I use the color L400 Classic Ivory. I've rebought this probably 10 different times at this point. It's such a good concealer. It has a ton of coverage, but not to the point of like, you know, Derma Blend and stuff like that, like the stuff that has like a creamy coverage to where like you're like almost like filling in stuff. It's not like that. It definitely is like a concealer in its consistency. However, it has a great amount of coverage. It covers my blemishes when I have blemishes, but it also covers my dark circles really well. It just does a great job of covering everything without it looking overly makeup-y and overly, well, I guess it still looks kind of makeup-y. I mean, whatever. But without looking overly fake. Like, it doesn't look like, whoa, she packed on that concealer, you know? You could use a lot of this and it would still look pretty natural, but it still has that coverage that just makes you look kind of naturally flawless, if that makes sense. For powder, this is another tried and true for me, obviously. This is the L'Oreal Infallible up to 24-hour Fresh Wear Foundation in a powder. And this is in the color 5 Pearl. I really, really like this powder. This is, I technically mix a few different powders when I do my powder, so, but I wanted to be like true to the thing and I didn't want to say, well, technically this is the powder, like this is, I need all 3 of these. I wanted to choose just one, and I have tried to use this by itself before and I really like the look. It obviously has a little bit more coverage than a typical pressed powder because it is a foundation powder, but it doesn't make it look like a foundation powder. Like it doesn't, because that sounds like a lot of coverage, like foundation, concealer, powder, and although I do really like a lot of full coverage, it doesn't look like, oh my gosh, she's wearing a ton of makeup. It just kind of sets your face, but also provides that extra coverage, because I find that when you use just a regular like thin pressed powder, sometimes it can kind of almost erase some of the concealer a little bit, but if you use something that has a decent amount of coverage itself, it just kind of adds to it. And this just ensures that all of my makeup stays set, it lasts a long time, it doesn't like come off very easily if I like, you know, like scratch my face or something like that. Because one of my biggest pet peeves is when I like scratch my face and then there's like a line of where you can see that I took off like makeup. I would rather my makeup be more kind of like blended into my skin than it's sitting on top of the skin. And this helps set everything and melt it into my skin. And it also is a very good just powder in general. It keeps things matte for the most part. Like I said, I don't really want it super matte because then I can look cakey. So it keeps it more not greasy, not oily, but not super duper matte. It kind of just keeps it as like a, okay, we're set, but we're not like mattified set. Okay, for contour slash bronzer, I actually went with the ColourPop matte bronzer in Miramar Beach. So it looks like this. That's the color. So this is the one I chose because for one simple reason, and that is that it is super duper buildable. And I definitely wanted something more on the buildable side, just because if I get something that already is super pigmented and I go too heavy-handed on it right away, I don't want it to be like having to diffuse it for 10 minutes. I'd rather just have something that I can keep adding to and make it look cuter over time. I'd much rather have that. So this is what the color looks like. It's kind of like it's pretty light, and I think that's why it's so buildable for me. So that's what it looks like against my hand. It looks more intense when it's on my finger, but when you apply it with a brush, it takes like a few dips for sure to actually get like a decent color payoff from it. But I definitely prefer that because I can definitely go too heavy-handed with things like bronzer, blush, highlight, all those things I can definitely go a little crazy with. So it's definitely better for me to get buildable products in terms of that. All right, for blush, I actually went with a ColourPop blush, but this is actually from one of their collabs. I don't know if it's still live. I never know if ColourPop collabs stay live or not because some of them do, some of them don't. And they come out with so many collabs so often that I'm sure you can find something similar in the future if this is not out anymore. But this is their Hello Kitty collab. And this is the color Island Shine Pressed Powder Blush. It looks like this. It's kind of like a bright, almost like reddish pinky color. It definitely, I have discovered that I do not like corals or oranges on myself when it comes to blushes or lip colors. I definitely steer more towards like, even though I do have neutral undertones, I definitely steer more towards like the cool side, if anything, not the warm side. So I typically go for like reddish undertones or I try to go for neutral undertones, but if I have to pick one, it's never going to be like the orangey undertones because that is much more for a warm skin tone. It would look best on them. Since I'm much more cool, I go for the reddish, and I think this is like a perfect. First of all, I really like the formula of it. It used to have like a bow imprint. You can kind of see, oh, you can kind of see. It's not really there anymore, but a little bit. Which shows how much I've used it. But I really like the formula of these pressed powder blushes by ColourPop in general. You can find a lot of good colors, so whatever one works for you, I would just recommend the pressed powder blush as one of those. But this would be one that I would go back to because it's super easy to use. I know the color works for me. I know exactly how to like apply it in a way that gives me a good color payoff that I want without it being too overly like blushy, like clownish, you know, and without it just disappearing into thin air when I blend it out. It has a very good in-between-ish where it kind of just gives me like a blushing from within, you know what I'm saying? Okay, this one I actually surprised myself by going with, and this is highlighter. So I thought I was gonna go with like, well, okay, I was gonna go with my Becca one, and then I was like, well, that's kind of awkward because Becca hit the dusty old trail a couple of years ago, as we all know. So they're not around anymore. So I'm not really gonna promote a product that you guys can't get in any way. So, and you know, obviously once mine goes kaput, I can't get another one either. So I decided to go for something kind of unique on this one, and I actually went with the Benefit Dandelion Twinkle, and this is the mini one, and it's like, It's like in their classic box packaging. You can see it right there. And it's actually just a really, really nice, it's more subtle than I thought I would want to go with, but I actually think I really like that because it does give, you can apply it pretty much everywhere. I typically only go for like the cheekbones and the nose, just because I find that if I put it other places, it can make me look a little too greasy. But I find that for this one, you can put it pretty much anywhere and it'll look flattering because it looks more like it has almost like of a sheen. It's not like a wet highlighter, which I thought I was gonna want more. But when I was looking at some of like my more wet looking highlights and more of my like ultra pigmented highlights, I found that those, even though I do like them, aren't necessarily like my go-tos for every day. If I have like a little bit more eyeshadow on or something like that and I want to look a little bit more glam, I'll go for those. But like for every day, I think that this one is just really nice. You could see it a little bit. Oh, there we go. So you could see it's just like that when the light hits it kind of highlight. And I actually prefer that just because if you have like a stripe of highlight, which is kind of like how I apply it, it can sometimes look a little overwhelming when you turn your head and it makes you look more makeuped than like, oh, she's glowing, you know what I'm saying? Which I want to go more for the like, oh, she's just glowing, like she just has like, you know, her skin is nice or whatever. I like the look of her skin versus, oh, she has like a stark beaming highlight on her cheek. I like her highlight, you know what I'm saying? All right, for eyebrows, I did the LA Girl Brow Bestie. This is one of the things that I was like, I don't really like, I'm not too picky when it comes to eyebrow stuff. I'm not saying that like I would put anything on my eyebrows. I'm not a big fan of brow powder. For me, I just always end up going too heavy-handed and my eyebrows look blocky if I do a powder. This is in the color Deep Brown, by the way. But I found that these kind of pencils specifically, I know that L'Oreal makes one. I think most drugstore brands do. It originally started from, I don't know if it originally started from, but from what I remember, it originally started from the Anastasia. It wasn't her original Brow Wiz. It was like it was some kind of other brow pencil that had come out and it was at more of like an angle and was a little bit thicker. So that's how this one is. If you can see, it's a little rounded. It originally was a little sharper. Oh, and there's a hair in it. Gross. And then the other side is a spoolie, so one, that saves me another trip of having to get something else because it already comes with the spoolie. So I could just brush through my brows, fill them in a little bit with the pencil side, and then just blend them out. So that saves me a ton of time, and it only takes me a couple of minutes. Triangle tip brow pencil, so it has triangle tip. This is kind of like a one and done kind of product. It takes me like 2 minutes max. And I thought that this one would be perfect because this one is just like cheap. You could just run to the store and get it real quick because a lot of stores sell LA Girl. I do like the other ones, like the L'Oreal, like Maybelline, even the Anastasia one I had for a little bit. But I find that, especially for this, as long as you get like the right color, it really doesn't make that big of a difference what brand you get. And that's why I just chose this one because this one is the cheapest one I have. And I can rebuy this in a second and it'll work just as well for me. So to go along with that, I kind of cheated a little bit and put a brow gel in here too. So this is the Anastasia clear brow gel, and the reason that I put this one in here is because certain things are worth the money, at least for me. So this is like a kind of expensive clear brow gel, but this is the only one I've found that one is like really stiff, like it keeps them in place the way that I want them to be. My natural brow hairs are kind of long. I have to like trim them or pluck them often to keep them in the shape that I want. So if I don't have like a nice brow gel that actually works, they'll kind of go all over the place and they'll look kind of messy and not as put together as I want them to be. This one definitely keeps them in place, whatever place you want to put them. So if you want to do like the soap brows and like brush them up, they'll stay there. If you want to brush them to the side, if you want to brush them down, whatever you want, it'll stay like that with this brow gel. However, it is a little bit more on the expensive side, but it doesn't leave a white residue or even like a clear residue. You can't see it, is my point. It's a very purely clear brow gel that you can't even tell that you're wearing it unless you feel your eyebrows, in which case you can tell that you're wearing it 'cause it's kind of like hair gel for your eyebrows basically. that's how much it like sticks them and keeps them in place. So unless you're doing that, unless you're feeling your eyebrows, you wouldn't even really remember that you were wearing it because you can't see it at all. And that's something I really value in a brow gel. I've tried colored brow gels and I've tried like, you know, more on the white side brow gels. The white ones, I hate the white residue that it leaves all over your eyebrows. I just don't like the way that looks on me. But this one is fantastic. Really recommend it. I'm sure there are good drugstore alternatives out there, but this is the one that I've found that I like the best. I also like how big the wand is, so you could see that this is like almost the size of pretty much a mascara wand. And for me, that's really helpful, again, because my eyebrows hairs are kind of long, so just the smaller ones are kind of harder to like get in there and brush them out, whereas this one is very convenient to just like kind of swipe over the entire brow, you know? So I knew I was gonna have to pick one eyeshadow palette, and the one that I chose is the ColourPop Rock Candy eye palette, and it has all the shade names on the back. But I chose this one mostly because if I only had access to one palette, number one, this has some really good neutrals in it. That's first and foremost, which I will show you. Do you see how perfect that, like, it makes sense for every day, you know? So we have like the row of darker neutrals down here, and then we have like the lighter ones up here. I like to use pink a lot, so that row is perfect. We've got like some lighter browns for a more natural look. I can do my wings with the darker colors down here. We've got some highlight shades. We've got some cool tones along with like warmer tones over here. And then we've got like a ton of shimmers. It's just perfect. Plain and simple, because it has every color that I could possibly want. The only thing that I couldn't do with it is like a super colorful look, which I do super colorful looks like once in a while, but if I had like just moved and was just trying to get my life back together and get all my stuff, I probably wouldn't have the time to go for a super colorful look every day. I would be going more for the neutrals. So this one's perfect because I can literally just throw one of like, I can throw a transition shade in there. I can darken the outer corner if I want with one of these darker colors. And then I can just add like a shimmer to my lid and then highlight. And then I'm good to go. This palette is perfect for that. It has all the colors you could want. And it also has like little rows basically. So like if I wanted to go with pink, I could go with pink. If I wanted to go more like, you know, orangey, I have more of an orange tone. If I wanted to go full smoky eye, I've got a full smoky eye, got my cool tones. It just has everything. I knew that this is the one that I wanted to go with. I also like it because a lot of the shimmer shades I wouldn't really use a brush for to apply. So that saves me another thing that I don't have to buy. I don't have to buy like a eyeshadow brush. I would probably buy just like a blending brush to like help put things in my crease. But I don't have to buy an eyeshadow like application brush for my lid. I just have to like buy the blending brushes basically, and then like a wing brush. But then after that, I am good to go. So I really recommend this one. I think this is one of their permanent palettes. I don't remember this being any kind of like, you know, collaboration or anything like that. So you should be able to still get this one. And I highly, highly recommend you do because this one is perfect in my opinion. I love it. I reach for it so often. Moving on to eyeliner, I decided to go again with ColourPop. ColourPop is a really good go-to brand. In my opinion, they have a lot of good formulas. Like I like the formulas of a lot of their products, and then I like the price of a lot of their products. So in my opinion, they're one of my like go-to kind of brands. So that's why a lot of stuff is there. Plus it would save me a trip if I just have to like get some stuff from ColourPop versus going to like 15 different stores to get stuff. So the ColourPop BFF Cream Gel Liner. That is this one, and this is in the color Swerve, which is matte, and it's just literally a black gel liner. That is all it is. It's soft, it's creamy, you can see it's pretty pigmented. There's your black liner, and you can just ring your eyes with it if you want, and that's that on that. As far as liquid liner, I'm a little bit more picky. Gel liners I'm pretty forgiving about. The only thing that I wouldn't like is like a kohl pencil, just because I've stabbed my eyes so many times with kohl pencils that I just can't do it anymore. That was like me taking care of myself, was like getting rid of my kohl pencils and just finally like getting full on board with the gel eyeliner trend. However, for liquid liners, I am a little bit more picky. Some of them dry out too quickly. Some of them are too like thick, the tip of them, so I can't get the wings the way that I want them to. Some of them, there's just a lot of like factors that go into a liquid liner. I do draw out my wings with eyeshadow before I go in with a liner, but I do a lot of the additional liner because I make like a small line with eyeshadow to basically map out where I want it and kind of like clean it up a little bit so I can figure out, well, like what direction they're going in basically, and make them kind of more even. But then once I go in with the liquid liner, I do make them thicker and I make them a little bit longer. So I do some freehand with the liquid liner. So I need a liquid liner that allows me the pigment and the time and is still thin enough that I don't go crazy if I try to make my wings thicker. So this is the NYX Epic Ink Liner. I think I talked about this in my dupes video. I think I talked about this one. And I love, this is like my favorite liquid liner ever. There's a couple that I go back to, you know, here and there a little bit. But this is the only one I have. This is the newer one that I have because I rebought one because my old one started to like ever so slightly, the felt tip like started to kind of like break apart a little bit. It still works just fine. I actually still have it and still use it, but this is the newer one that I got. And I believe they're like $9. They're not a lot of money and they last so long and stay pigmented for so long. I absolutely love them. They don't move, like, you know, I could touch them. I'm touching it right now with my finger. It's not going anywhere. It says it's waterproof. It still will come off with, like, you know, when you're washing your face, it'll come off with soap, so I don't really worry about that, but it works so well, and this would definitely be one of the first things I would buy because I don't like not having my eyeliner. I don't like not having my wings. My wings are what keep me afloat. My wings make me feel more confident in my entire makeup. That's something that I just never skip anymore. Once I got into them, I never stopped doing them. So definitely this would be one of the first things I would pick up, and I might get a couple of different colors. I have different liquid liners in different colors that aren't NYX ones and that are just like, I think I have ColourPop ones that are just like, you know, pretty cheap, like they work, but I don't need them to like, I would only use them once in a blue moon because they're like bright colors, so I don't really need a ton of those. So if I wanted to, I could get a couple of colors of this. I would probably just do black, brown, and maybe like a purple color to like accentuate my eyes a little bit. But besides that, yeah, this one is definitely a winner. Mascara, I had to go with my trusty Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect Mascara. A couple of reasons for this. I do have mascaras that I like more than this one. I'm just gonna, full disclosure. However, this one is cheap enough that I can buy like a 3-pack of these for the price of like way less, honestly, than one of my other ones that I like better. It's super cheap. I can buy it again super easily, and it honestly, it's a tried and true. Like everybody knows about the Essence Lash Princess at this point. It's a great mascara. I really like the wand on this one. I like that it's a little bit more like close together with the bristles. Sometimes if the bristles are too far apart, I feel like it doesn't evenly coat my lashes correctly how I want it to. This one also works really well for the lower lash. Again, if the wand is too thick, I find that if I try to put it on my lower lashes, it can cause them to look very like clumpy and thick and almost look like I just put black underneath my eyes, which is not what I want. I want like separated bottom lashes so you can see it and it like opens the eyes. This would be my go-to, and I'd probably get like a pack of these if I could. And I know that they would last me. They also make like a pink one. I don't know what that one's called. And then they make a waterproof of this one. So good all around, have a couple of options, be a good choice. I believe this is the last item, which is our lip product. So I did a lot of thinking about this and I was like, should I go with a lipstick? Should I go with like a liquid lipstick, a lip gloss? I got rid of the lip gloss idea pretty quickly because I was like, I usually like to layer lip gloss on top of lipstick or lip liner, and I just feel like it would look weird to just have a lip gloss. Plus I like to like trace my lips with something and like set the shape with something. So if I went just in with gloss, I just think it would kind of like, I don't know, look kind of weird on my face. So at the end of the day, I decided to go with yet another ColourPop product. This is the ColourPop Blotted Lip, and this is their lipsticks, and this is in the color The Artist. I have so many of these in different colors, so this is just one example. This one is like a reddish, like I said, I've been really liking like the reddish, pinkish colors, but I have a few of these. I have one that's like really close to my natural lip shade. I have this one. I love these blotted lips. They blend out so nicely, so like if you smear them a little bit, you see they still leave that color on your lips. So what I like to do is almost make like a little heart in the center of my lips, and then you kind of blend it out, and then it just looks like you almost have like stained lips, without actually having to use a lip stain. And I love the look of that. It almost gives like that velvety texture to it. And this one, I do usually like to use like a reddish pinkish color, but they make so many different colors, and I think they have an entire like pack of these lipsticks in all different colors that you could get. So that would definitely be probably one that I would go with, because one, it's a lipstick, so it's super quick that you could just apply it. I also could flip it over to this like sharper side and use that as kind of like a lip liner. And that saves me having to buy a lip liner, and it's something that I can also throw in my purse, and I can reapply it throughout the day without having to worry about, you know, it like being sticky like with a gloss, or it being too like satiny and stuff like that. It's just something that I can literally just like dab a little bit on and blend into my lips. You're good to go. So I believe that was the last product. So I genuinely hope that you guys enjoyed hearing what would be my first repurchases if I lost all my makeup, and why I would repurchase them, what I like about them. I do hope that maybe I gave you some good ideas or things to try if you haven't tried these before. I know a couple of them I have talked about, but there's for good reason. That's because I really love them. Please comment what your makeup essentials would be and what you would repurchase if you somehow lost all of your makeup. And please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video, and check out some of my other beauty videos. They will be linked. And I hope you have a great day. Bye!